Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
A cool fall night. 2 games remaining in this regular season, and this evening at Busch Stadium. If the Cardinals win, they are in postseason play. Last night, Jaime Garcia in a 4-2 win. Produced on the mound and at the plate. That tied the game at 1. St. Louis would win it 4-2. Then it was off to the clubhouse to watch on television to see if the Dodgers would pull it out. They did. They're still alive. 2 games to go in this regular season. The Dodgers playing host to San Francisco tonight to stay alive. If they win, the Cardinals, they win just 1 game. They are in. The Dodgers have to win out. The Cardinals lose 2 for them to get in. It's Zito and Capuano out west later tonight. And welcome to Cardinals Baseball. That's Al Hrabosky. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Al, pretty simple. The Cardinals win. They are in. We didn't think we'd see Chris Carpenter this season. We do. And not only that, he pitches in one of the biggest games of the year.
Last season, the last game of the season, Chris Carpenter pitched the ball club into postseason. He's got a chance to do that again. Only his 3rd start of the year. He improved in his 2nd start down in Houston over the first one, and we look for him to be vintage Carpenter once again.
Has a playoff feel and atmosphere here tonight at the ballpark. Busch Stadium, the scene. Game number 2, Reds and Cards. Lots on the line tonight. And pitching. Rick Horton takes a look at the arms of St. Louis that have them on the cusp of clinching tonight.
One of the most amazing aspects of the 2011 Cardinals was that they won without Adam Wainwright. So when Chris Carpenter started this season on the DL and the team said he was shut down for the year in July, the Redbirds weren't worried. Enter Lance Lynn. The first-time All-Star won 11 games in the first half and has 18 wins this season. The best pitcher, though, has been Kyle Loesch, who proved once again, when healthy, he's hard to hit. Kyle collected a career-high 16 wins and posted one of the league's lowest ERAs. Adam Wainwright seems recovered from Tommy John surgery, posting a 3.28 ERA in the second half. With Jaime Garcia back from injury, Joe Kelly, who had filled in nicely, moves to the bullpen and has been reliable, as have the other rookies, Trevor Rosenthal and Shelby Miller. Mitchell Boggs had a good 2012, and the team enjoyed some valuable appearances by Edward Mojica. But overall, the relievers have ranked towards the bottom of baseball. The second half, though, has been much better, especially for Jason Mott, who has been one of the best closers in the second half. But the spark for St. Louis this year might be one of the heroes from last year, who simply couldn't wait to get back to the postseason.
Defense for the St. Louis Cardinals.
The Cardinals' defense has had its ups and downs this year, but overall, it's been average. Their fielding percentage is exactly the average in the National League. Errors are a bit on the high side, but it's still less than last year, and we know how that turned out. There have been some highlight reel plays from Daniel Descalzo at second base, and there have been some spectacular throws by Beltran and Wright. But the biggest surprise defensively has been John Jay. A Gold Glove candidate in center, Jay has the highest zone rating in baseball among center fielders and has had a few catches that rank among baseball's very best this season. Speaking of the best in baseball, the Cardinals still have the best defensive player in the game. Yadier Molina's offense has taken center stage, but his defense is still as strong as ever. A fifth consecutive Gold Glove is expected after throwing out 47.2% of runners crazy enough to run on him. Second best in baseball. The defense will continue to have its ups and downs, but they'll be just fine as long as number 19 is in center and number 4 is behind the plate.
2002, they weren't sure what they were getting. What they got was a workhorse, an ace, a World Series hero, one of the best in franchise history. Last year, Carpenter's complete game shutout on the season's final day capped the Cardinals' miracle comeback. His masterpiece in Game 5 of the NLDS helped St. Louis fight off the favored Phillies. His Game 7 win in the World Series was the stuff of legends. Tonight, Cardinals Nation welcomes back their warrior and hopes Carpenter can come through in the clutch once again. A win, and they're in. It's next on Fox Sports Midwest. In from the bullpen. Baseball tonight brought to you by Smooth Bush Beer and easy drinking Bush Light. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake, just no equal. Last time these fans here at home saw Chris Carpenter on the mound in game action, Mike Matheny wasn't the manager, and Carpenter was in Game 7, helping win the World Series. Dusty Baker, back from an extended leave due to heart problems. First game back was yesterday. This is the lineup that he will face. It's Phillips, Cozart, and Votto, followed by Ludwig, Bruce, and Roman, Dioner, Navarro, then Stubbs and Matt Latos. It's Chris Carpenter's third start of the season tonight and first at Busch Stadium.
It's the warrior. Chris Carpenter, been out almost all season, had the surgery. Anybody else probably would have said, hey, I'll see you in spring training, but not Carpenter. He's here to try and help his teammates go to postseason again.
And away we go. The first pitch is fouled back. Carpenter has gotten better, as we saw, from one start to the next, and let's see how he performs tonight. The comfortable surroundings of Busch Stadium.
Stay under control. Just stay within yourself. Nobody does that better than Carpenter.
Great point, Al. And you think about Yachty now going over to try to get that baseball, and it's out of play. But you think about the emotions of Carpenter. We talk about it so much, but yet you look at the big games when seasons are on the line. He's at his best. So while he is an emotional player, somehow, some way, on the game's biggest stage, he's able to corral it all in and give the Cardinals his best.
Every pitcher does it in different ways, but he really does wear his emotions on his sleeve. When it's his day, he takes charge, and the team follows.
Calling the balls and strikes tonight, a veteran, Chad Fairchild. Alfonso Marquez is down at first. Tom Hallion is the crew chief at second. Brian Honora is at third. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, and that's how we start the night. A strikeout for Carpenter.
And not only a strikeout, but that ties Bob Forge for third place in the all-time strikeout list by a Cardinal pitcher.
It's Holiday, Jay Beltran in the outfield. Freeze, Cosma, Descalso, and Craig along the infield. And behind the plate, Yadier Molina. Dobbs defense. And Carpenter records the first out via the strikeout.
Always something special about that. Kind of punctuates your night. And he's out there throwing strikes.
You know all about Bob Forge. We all miss him, but talk about great competitors like Carpenter. Bob Forge was one too.
Forge third on the all-time wins list by the Cardinals.
It's really overlooked, isn't it?
Yeah, and speaking of wins, that's all Carpenter's been since he's come to the Cardinals. Just a phenomenal win percentage, and one of his favorite opponents has been the Cincinnati Reds.
The 0-2 pitch to Zach Cozart, taken for a ball outside. Cozart is hitting .249 with 15 home runs, and he's driven in 35, the shortstop for the Reds. 1-2 pitch.
He's not missing by much, is he?
Not at all.
Five strikes, 3 pitches out of the zone and very close.
2-2 gets him to reach, and a fly ball into shallow right center field. Jay is there for out number 2. Keys to the game presented by Toyota. Regular season play, here we are in the month of October. Normally that means postseason play. And all combined, Chris Carpenter, tremendous. 11-2. ERA under 3. In over 100 innings, and opponents hitting .239. The Toyota keys to the game. Carpenter in October.
Last season, he was absolutely sensational in postseason. And, of course, he pitched a clincher down in Houston. And he's trying to do it again here tonight for the Redbirds.
Votto was hitless in Game 1. Make it 0-2. This crowd is ready to explode if he can get a strikeout here. His second of the night. He's 1 strike away. The 0-2 from Carpenter.
Carpenter made his 3rd start, and I don't think you'd really have any pitch restrictions on him. But you can tell by the way he's missing. He's not missing by much, that he's going out there and trying to do it efficiently.
14 for 35. Votto against Carpenter. Pair of home runs. Count even now. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Late with that swing, and remember Votto coming off a knee surgery, then a cleanup surgery after that, so his base has been affected.
Talking with Brooke Jacoby, the hitting coach for the Reds, and he was talking about that Votto's still not totally comfortable or confident with that back knee, that he stabilizing through his swing. Of course, Votto has that good batting eye also, high on-base percentage.
Many teams pitch around Joey Votto. Carpenter started out this at bat 0-2. In on his hands with a cutter. Velocity has been mid-90s tonight for Carpenter.
And that's one thing we've seen. And remember, the first start he had was in Chicago. Kind of a cold, rainy, damp night. Better conditions in Houston. The velocity was a little better, and it's even better here again tonight.
The 3-2 pitch. Hit out of play. Setting the tone in this series was the start of Jaime Garcia last night. And now, Al, that's 4 consecutive starts that Jaime has been very good with plus stuff.
I agree. I think Mike Matheny deserves a lot of credit for getting in Jaime's head and challenging him in a very positive way.
Very good at bat by Votto. Went from 0-2, worked it full, and draws a walk. And it brings in Ryan Ludwig. Batting cleanup. 26 home runs. He's driven in 80. Got off to a slow start. Talking with Ryan, said he corrected a mechanical flaw in his swing, and he has really taken off.
The biggest flaw was mental, is getting out of San Diego in that big ballpark.
Said two things with that. One, you're always trying to yank the ball out of the ballpark because it's so spacious at Petco. Then he gets traded to Pittsburgh, and to justify the trade, he said you try to hit for power, you get out of what you're comfortable in doing, and develop some bad habits there as well. Carried over to the beginning of this season, but he has corrected those flaws. 0-2. We have seen, though, that pitch right there, he will chase. You can get him out on that pitch.
Well, you can, but we also know how dangerous it is. If you make a hanger, you don't execute and get on top of that pitch, you know, he can hurt you. And for the Reds, when Votto was out, it was Ludwig and Bruce that really responded and carried this ball club.
The 0-2. Curveball is tapped foul.
It's one thing we noticed when he was in Houston. He really did not rely much on that curveball because he didn't have the really good 12-6. Not a lot of consistency with it. So you've got to use that pitch. But he went away from that and threw a lot more cutters, and they were much more effective. 0-2. Go back to the curveball, just pull down on it.
Here it is again. And it's taken a little high. So you don't see that sharp break, the 12-6, but you do see a good fastball. We have seen a good cutter so far, too.
And Dan, I think that Chris will be the first one to tell you that you cannot give up on that pitch. Even though it's not consistent right now, as the game progresses, it will get better, and he'll go with the cutter. That cutter, at one time, Chris used to use it exclusively or almost exclusively against left-handed batters, running in on them. But he's found that to be such an effective pitch for him, and he's taught it to many of the other Cardinal pitchers.
Pitch number 24 of the inning upcoming.
That's the curveball.
Another 1-2 pitch. Fly ball into center. No damage done. Welcome back, Chris Carpenter. in the first inning, followed by Craig, Molina, and Freeze, Descalso, Cosma, and Carpenter. For the most part, the same starting 8. And then you see the 1 through 5 in the rotation added on for Mike Matheny. Matt Latos, he can be as good as any right-hander in the game. And his number is brought to you by Enterprise Bank and Trust.
And Danny's only 24 years of age. He has 15 no decisions. That ties Cliff Lee for the most in the major leagues. And for whatever reason, he struggles against the Cardinals and has a big time problem pitching here in St. Louis.
Jay will lead it off. Crowd still filing in. They know what's at stake. The Cardinals win. They head to postseason play. Jay overall at .303. And at Busch Stadium this season batting .382. Fastball taken high and away. 4 home runs. He's driven in 40. Most of his damage this year has been done from the leadoff spot. You think about the trade that the Reds made to get Matt Latos. They gave up some pretty good talent. Infielder Yonder Alonso, Yasmani Grandal, who is their everyday catcher, and also Edinson Volquez, very good pitcher. So they wanted Matt Latos. Walt Jocketty going into the season wasn't sure about the future of Joey Votto. Brandon Phillips, he went all in, and they get themselves a very good right-hander.
Actually, he struggled against the Cardinals 1-4 with an ERA of 10 1/4. But here at Busch Stadium, 0-3 with an ERA of nearly 19.
He's also among the league leaders in tattoos. The 2-2 fought off by Jay, and it's foul.
Who's he in competition with? Tattoos.
Carpenter might be there. You don't see Chris's as much. His are on the legs. So there's what you're talking about against St. Louis this year. The high ERA near 10. That pitch was high and bounces foul. It's one of those things, though, Al, when you look at a trade to get a Matt Latos, they obviously consider him a premier pitcher. You don't give up that much to get a guy unless you think he can get you over the top. And if they win the World Series and Grandal and Alonso turn out to be great players, the Reds say, so what? We win the World Series. Matt Latos got us there. He helped us. Ripped down the right field line. That is fair. Into the corner. Jay on his way to second. Leadoff stand-up double for John Jay.
John Jay was batting over 400 against Latos, and we take a look at the double. Little hump in that off-speed pitch. Just hung right up there for him. You still have to hit it, and John Jay does. Has a tired service with our replay. It's the 22nd double of the year for John Jay.
So important with the numbers that we've shown you against Latos. Cardinals to get that early lead. All of a sudden, in the back of his mind, he's saying, here we go again.
And Beltran is swinging the bat a lot better.
Ground ball right side and productive out. Phillips only play to go to first. The defense, very good infield. Let's take a look at the outfield with some plus arms there. Ludwig, Stubbs, and Bruce. Then the infield, you have Roland, Cozart, Phillips, Votto. 3 of the 4 are Gold Glovers. Diner Navarro is behind the plate. And Around the Horn is brought to you by Dobbs. So John Jay stands at third. The infield is drawn in. And here is Matt Holliday.
Holliday, one of the few Cardinals that he's had a problem hitting at Latos, just 214 average, but he leads the ball club with his 101 RBIs.
They have challenged him. When I say they, not just the Reds, but that pitch last night and the past week or so, but really have gone after him with fastballs. You wonder how that back is feeling right now for Matt Holliday.
Matt would probably be the first to tell you there are holes in his approach and his swing, but you make a mistake, he'll hurt you.
Strike 2 on Holiday.
Trying to work him up and in. Talk about that trade, Dan. San Diego knew that Latos was an outstanding pitcher, but with the players they got in return, it was a very good deal for San Diego. And the Reds are hoping they can harness his great talent and emotions.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Infield drawn in. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Holiday. Outfield is deep. They're straight away. Alan Craig is on deck. Spoils a pitch.
I mentioned Holiday's back. Dan, in my estimation, he's a low ball hitter. And when you got the backs ailing, a little tough to go down and get those pitches.
1-2 pitch again. Taken just inside, and it's 2-2. Latos, hard thrower, big kid. He's 6'6", 240 pounds. Lives in San Diego in the offseason, born and raised in Alexandria, Virginia. A 2-2 pitch. Spoiled again by Holiday. We saw their slugger Joey Votto make Carpenter work in the top of the inning, and Holiday doing that here.
Beltran swung at the first pitch. Cardinals seem like they're getting back in that mode of really making a starter work. Try to get that pitch count up and get into their bullpen early.
Nice rip again. The 2-2. Holiday with a fly ball out to center. Jay will tag up. Here we go. The throw from center field offline, and the Cardinals have an early lead. Jay scores. RBI number 102 for Holiday. Nice at bat put together by the Redbird slugger.
Really was. He got behind early, had a couple tough pitches, fouled them off, got to the point where he could hit a ball deep enough to score John Jay, and the Cardinals take the early lead. Backs up on the ball, tries to get his mechanics in the proper, but way offline. Wouldn't have mattered either way. Holiday does his job.
Fell behind, 0-2. Swung through a couple of fastballs and then worked the count. And picks up the RBI with the sac fly. 2 outs, nobody on, and Alan Craig is the hitter. Little things that championship or winning teams do, like Carlos Beltran moments ago, moving that runner over from second base after the leadoff double.
You said it, Dan, a productive out. Sure, his mindset was he wanted to drive him in, but at the very least, it was productive because he got the man from second to third and scores on the sac fly.
Craig, couple of hops to second. Down on a knee was Brandon Phillips. Carpenter has been given a 1-run lead. He goes back to work after an inning of play. Mike Matheny's glove up by a run. Series, the postseason tickets are available right now. If the Cardinals would get in, then they beat Atlanta on Friday. St. Louis then would host the division series on Sunday and Monday. The times have not been announced. The game times have not been announced, but we do know most definitely those games Sunday, Monday, division series. So the first 2 games of that division series here in St. Louis at Busch Stadium, and there are tickets as low as $25. Here's Jay Bruce, and the 1-0 pitch is tapped to Carpenter. Underhands, 1 away. I think it would have been intriguing, Al, if the Cardinals would have been able to wrap this thing up over the weekend, and then you have the luxury of trying to figure out Loesch, Wainwright, Carpenter in that 1-game playoff against Atlanta. You could make a case for all 3 guys to get that start.
Well, sure you could, but I think the best thing for Carpenter is to pitch this game.
I'm with you there too.
You know, he only had 11 innings under his belt, 2 starts, so you know he's a warrior, but let him, you know, he didn't have any minor league rehab. The minor league seasons were over, so he needs this start, and he'll be that much better prepared for when postseason comes around.
Speaking of Warriors, here you go. A couple of old buddies squaring off right here. Scott Rowland, Chris Carpenter. As Rowland hits it foul and out of play. These two were close. Good teammates together when they were in St. Louis, and then tough not to remember the brawl, which those two got after it a little bit a couple of years ago in Cincinnati.
Well, in my mind, Scott Rowland was totally being a peacemaker.
There's a strikeout for Carpenter, and that's number 2.
He had to be a little aggressive in trying to be that peacemaker, but there was no intent, just like he had no intent of swinging on this curveball.
So sole possession now of 3rd place in the all-time strikeout list for Chris Carpenter
And
here in St. Louis.
Very early into next season, he will pass Dizzy Dean.
Here's Navarro, the catcher, and he looks at a ball high and away.
He's 15 strikeouts away from 2nd place with Dizzy Dean.
Isn't that amazing to hear your name associated with Dizzy Dean, and a guy like Bob Forsch, who for Cardinal fans that name means an awful lot. Dizzy Dean on a national perspective, you know that name. Then you have the great Bob Gibson. The 2-0 pitch. Ground ball left side and a base hit as Cosmo was playing towards the bag at second. Navarro went with the pitch, and it's the first base hit for the Reds.
Well, Bob Gibson is number 1 on the all-time strikeout list, and I can remember when he struck out Cesar Geronimo, excuse me, from the Reds for his 3,000th strikeout. And, you know, at that time, if I'm not mistaken, he was only the 2nd pitcher in Major League history to have 3,000 strikeouts. Now there's a ton of them.
I think you would have to say, Al, that when you look back at that time frame of the 60s and 70s, strikeouts and how they pile up, it's not even close to what we see today. Drew Stubbs, a good example of that. Here is a guy that could make a living with his legs, his speed, but yet strikeouts are a part of the resume that he puts together every year. 0-1 pitch, curveball, make it strike 2.
In the 50s and before, there were big home run hitters in the minor leagues, but because they struck out 100 times, they stayed in the minor leagues. Couldn't be brought to the big leagues because they made too many outs. That is out the window now.
Got him. Waves at the pitch. Strikeout number 3 and 2 in the inning for Carpenter. The Birds have Molina, Freeze, Descalso coming up, and they lead it 1-0. Cardinals.com. T-shirts, jerseys, and more at Cardinals.com. It's Molina, Freeze, and Descalso for the Cardinals in the home half of the second. Redbirds lead it on a sac fly RBI by Matt Holliday. His 102nd RBI. Turned out to be a very long night for the St. Louis Cardinals after game one of this series. We'll have more on that with Jim Hayes upcoming in the third. Now we could be on the cusp of history after tomorrow night. Miguel Cabrera, the 29-year-old for Detroit, 137 RBIs, by far most in the major leagues. He has one more home run than Josh Hamilton, and also the edge in the batting title over Mike Trout. And Cabrera went to Jim Leyland and said, I do not want to be taken out of the lineup. They have wrapped up the division. They are playoff bound. And against Jeremy Guthrie, he's already 1 for 1 tonight. But I'm sure anybody that loves baseball and those individual races applauds Cabrera, saying, do not take me out. I want to play.
The last time there was a Triple Crown winner in baseball, it was 1967 with Carl Yastrzemski. And if my memory serves me, he won that with a very low batting average. It might have even been under 300. And the last time in the National League.
There's a curveball lifted into right center field, and Molina lines out.
It's Ducky Medwick with the Triple Crown back in 1937.
For my money, he's the MVP. Cabrera is of the American League. And some are saying you got to take a hard look at Mike Trout. And I'd come back and say, if you win the Triple Crown, how are you not the MVP?
I don't understand. You know, and I will acknowledge that you probably can't go wrong with either one. But everyone's saying it is the modern sabermetrics versus the old time people just looking at, you know, pure RBIs and batting average. And sabermetrics do not put that much stock in batting average or RBIs. It's another disagreement I have with them.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to David Freese. Yastrzemski in 1967 hit .326, 44 home runs, 121 RBIs. So solid season, obviously, when you win the Triple Crown. And for me, it's an MVP type season. End of story. The 2-0 pitch. Freese taps it foul. Now Mike Trout, and we've also talked about this in conjunction with Yadier Molina, when you vote for an MVP, take in the entire body of work, which also Trout covers a ton of ground. Molina means so much defensively for his team, and that also comes into play as well. But the other numbers are pretty hard to dismiss.
And I think another factor too is one team is moving on in postseason, the others is not.
And that's always the age-old argument. You know, a team that does not advance in the postseason or win a division, maybe even finish close to the top, are they the MVP of a league against an individual player that's helped his team get there? Ryan Braun may face that this year in the National League, among other reasons as to why he doesn't get votes. 3-2 pitch to Freese. Lined into left center field. This ball will get down. 2 hops and to the wall. Last season's postseason hero and MVP trots into second base, and the Cardinals have their second double tonight.
25th double for Freese, who's now 4 for 6 off of Latos. All up out over the plate. Listen.
Daniel Descalso, the hitter, the Cardinals' second baseman. He had an RBI triple last night. One out, runner at second. Descalso, a ground ball to Phillips. 2 away. As crazy as this may sound, and I would imagine, Al, that your answer would be he's in the ace spot, you go after him, you get the hitter. But Pete Kozma is swinging a hot bat. On deck you have Chris Carpenter, who's not noted for his bat. Are you pitching around Kozma in this spot and just saying we'll take our chances with Carpenter?
No, you pitch to him because Latos, well, they're going to walk him. Dusty spent too much time in the hospital.
I just present the scenarios, Al, and let you, the analyst, the expert, decide.
I wouldn't walk him. I would pitch to him, and if I fell behind the count at a certain point, then you have that as an option.
And that was my thinking. You start by pitching around him and see if he'll chase, and if he does, then go after him. But this spot, just 4 pitches, intentional walk. Who would have thought that on October 2nd? We'd be talking about Pete Kozma getting intentionally walked.
328 average, too.
Another thing that surprises you.
Kozma did take a over in yesterday's ball game, so Dusty Baker's just relying on his advanced scout, and what he has said is Kozma swinging a hot bat, like you said.
Carpenter does have a base hit. Runners at first and third.
And part of my answer to you, Dan, is as a pitcher, I don't think you ever want to give a batter enough credit that you can at least start to, the at bat against him. Pitcher's always mindset is I'll destroy the 8th place hitter, and then I've got one easy out the next inning.
It's sharply to third, and Rowland makes the play. Cardinals strand 2. The move pays off for Dusty Baker. This time, St. Louis on top. Is brought to you by MyKiaSt.Louis.com. And come to Jack in the Box and try a sourdough cheesesteak melt today. It's got all the best parts of a cheesesteak, but it's on toasty sourdough. Along with the Mad Hungarian Al Rabaski, who would destroy every 8th place hitter he ever saw. Dan McLaughlin and Jim Hayes is here too. Update on Miguel Cabrera. He's now up to 331, and he's 2 for 2. The Tigers slugger. It's Latos, Phillips, and Cozart here in the third. So, Jim, I was teasing the fact in the second inning it was a late night here at Busch Stadium for many of the players in front office as they were hoping to celebrate. They had to wait to see what would happen with the Dodgers. If the Dodgers lost, Cardinals win, they're in. And they couldn't celebrate. They had
just
to wait.
over 2 hours watching the Giants and Dodgers. The Dodgers did win, so the silver lining for the Cardinals, and a number of players said that, is now they get to handle their business tonight, which is what they would have preferred. Always glad to clinch any way you possibly can. But what a long night for our own Pat Paris and Ricky Horton. We counted 26,473 words of Phil talk.
What did Pat have to say?
Oh, a lot of stuff. And the ironic thing was, because we asked Mike Matheny to come on, as they're doing cut-ins of the game last night, and Mike Matheny was actually on set working for Fox Sports Midwest last year when the Cardinals clinched in Houston, watching two other teams go at it. So I said, Mike, have mercy on these guys. Come on with us. So he did. He was kind enough to do it.
Another strikeout for Carpenter. He is sharp tonight. That's number 4. And 4 strikeouts. First time through the lineup. So Gibson, Dizzy, Dean, Carpenter, and Bob Force, as Chris Carpenter has made history tonight. Jumped ahead of Bob Force on the all-time strikeout leaders list in Cardinals history. So Mike and John Mozeliak also very nice to accommodate you, Jim, and your request. So did you stretch the interviews to give those guys a break?
Not really, Dan. No. I don't want to tie up the manager who's watching the fate of his team, obviously in the hands of 2 other teams, and the general manager. So I just tried to help Pat and Rick as much as I can without alienating the Cardinal staff, as it were.
And so here we go, Al. It's all about Jim again on the postgame.
All about Jim.
I really miss being in here with you guys.
You know, he has 7 jobs, and just wonder where this one, what priority this one is. The Cat.
Al, as you know, you are my #1 priority. Anything you need, I will take care of, my friend.
Thank you.
Here's Zach Cozart, who flied out to center.
And as I say on set when you're doing post game with me, zip it. See, I can get away with it on set, not when I'm with you, Dan.
You guys are good old chums. So Phillips, the base hit. Not the prototypical leadoff man that the Reds are looking for, but you know he can fill that role. And that's strike 2 on Cozart, who flied to center first time up, and he's 0 for 1.
I did want to mention, though, that Mike Matheny wanted his team to wait it out and have the opportunity to celebrate. A, he said some of the players may never get another chance, and B, to show appreciation for the opportunity, because he said it's a legitimate opportunity. And for those reasons, they felt like they should wait it out.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Cozart.
But it's nothing better than taking care of your own business. Don't rely on somebody else. Just go ahead and beat the Reds. That's what you need to do, and you have that opportunity.
1-2 pitch. Got him. That cutter is nasty tonight. Strikeout number 5, 2 in the inning.
I said Carpenter was going to have to wait till early next season to pass Dizzy's Dean. The way he's going now, you might see it tonight.
Some people thought he might never get that opportunity after the surgery, season ending, perhaps career ending. Chris Carpenter never bought into it. Remarkable what he's done without any rehab at all in the minor leagues. Here's a guy that has a piece of his rib bone that they removed in surgery in his medicine cabinet back home.
Has he decided that he will keep that, or is he going to get rid of it?
Apparently his daughter wanted some sort of souvenir from the procedure, and I think he's going to make it into some sort of charm. I believe that's what he told our producer Brad Straubing.
I think you're right, though, Jim. To me, we've taken for granted what we're watching right now. Essentially, no spring training, no rehab assignments. Just here we go, surgery and back out on the mound, and yet there's this guy looking like he hasn't missed a beat. 1-0 pitch.
And to me, when he first started going on the road with the Cardinals, and you guys saw it, he's running the stairs, he's sweating, he's doing all the work to get himself back in shape. I thought to myself, there's a guy that thinks he's pitching this season. And finally, you got some of his teammates to admit he might be thinking that. And sure enough, he was, and here he is.
I think one of the interesting things, and maybe you can follow up on this, Jim, is he went to the same doctor 4 years ago when he had the problem in the shoulder, the nerve problem. And at that time, the doctor did not recommend surgery, thought it was too risky. But in 4 years, whether they discovered more about this procedure, but he recommended it because he thought he'd be pitching.
So off the sidewall, it was just inside the third base line, and Votto trotting into second base. Inside out swing and the double. Not a bad pitch by Carpenter. Joey Votto on base for the second time. 2 hits in the inning. Runners at second and third with 2 outs.
And you think about it from a Cardinal perspective, when they first began evaluating whether or not it was possible for Carpenter to really return, they had to be thinking about this very thing. Carpenter on the mound in a clinching situation based on what he's done in his career, specifically last year. This is what they were thinking about.
That's what we were talking before, Jim, about the options that you could have if this game was not in play for a clincher. You could make the case, at least, not necessarily would you do it, but make the case for Carpenter to get that start. First pitch popped up. Carpenter out of a jam, and there's Craig. He's got it. The Reds strand 2. Cardinals win tonight. The first one would be on Friday. My understanding is, Jim, that'll be a pregame and postgame for that game on Friday in Atlanta.
That is correct. Really looking forward to the postseason. Not putting the cart before the horse, Dan, but hopefully the Cardinals get in, and we will have post-game shows right after the game airs on another network. And flip over to Fox Sports Midwest. We'll have your analysts, your post-game interviews.
Don't get too excited there, Jim. Get your analysts and your post-game interviews. Come on, pump it up.
I'm trying to be like Mike Matheny, not put the cart before the horse, Dan. They're very
He's
careful
in uniform.
about that.
We're up here, all right?
All right, we can't wait to do it, Dan.
Absolutely. Let's get there. Let's see it. Here's the 0-1 to John Jay. And there's a strike. Now, speaking of Mike, as he talked about how he will address that first game, because as we saw last year, you can change your roster with every stop along the way. The Cardinals did that with Lance Lynn. He came off the 60-day DL and huge impact down the stretch, and that's Jay. Look at this. Rolling, long throw, and saved at first. Jay beat it out.
Still a remarkable play by Scott Rowland.
Still fun to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, you go back to his Rookie of the Year campaign to even now. He's still one of the best and one of the all-time greats at third base.
Nice stretch, too, by Votto.
Yeah, trying to do everything he can. Look at the accuracy. He knows John Jay can run, so he's trying to do it. And John Jay, 2 for 2. 8 for 16 against Latos. John Jay.
So here is Carlos Beltran, who grounded out to second. So, Jim, going back to that question, has he talked at all, Mike Matheny, about what he may do with that game one starter as well as his roster?
No. And Mike has been very careful. They're not even billboarding what the post-game plans. Yesterday he was kind of secretive about what the Cardinal plans are going to be after the game, because his philosophy is let's do what we have to do with the game in front of us. So he's reluctant to lay out strategy or planning. I do get the sense, though, that there have been plenty of discussions already between John Mozeliak and Mike Matheny, and they probably have an idea about their roster and who's going to get what start. They're just not telling us.
Now that I will accept as the answer.
Thank you. And thank you, Al.
2-0 here on Beltran. He could lose one in a hurry. Trying to groove a strike, and Carlos swinging the bat well right now. Runner at first is John Jay. That's taken low.
Beltran has hit 3 home runs against him. Got 4 hits and 9 at bats and 3 home runs.
He was swinging away last week in Houston with the bases loaded and a 3-0 count. Nice rip.
Over his last 16 games, Beltran hit .373, and I was talking to him about not getting it going until that 16-game stretch, and he said it wasn't so much as health-related things. He said the knee, the back, among other things. He said it's really just timing.
Beltran with a high fly ball into right. Got under it. Jay's thinking about tagging up. Drawn to throw, he will. And Bruce, who has a very strong arm, a strike into second base. Latos may have just gotten away with one here. Let's take a look.
The top of the strike zone, just ever so slightly got underneath it.
So, Jim, where did you go last night? You interviewed Mike and Mo, but then a lot of time to fill, as you eloquently told us. So what did you do?
Well, I was certainly monitoring the game on the West Coast. Got some pizza. No, but I was standing by trying to push to get more interviews to help Pat and Rick, as you would suspect.
Jim, it's not digging ditches here. I mean, you're talking baseball. I think they can fill for a couple of hours. They'll be okay. But great work, my man.
I wanted to do my part.
And when there's food and Jim are together, that filled about 2 hours worth. You can eat.
We did tear up some pizza.
Oh, so you took the players
back on? No. Back on set.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Al got to see a very nice show that I put on pizza eating. Pretty good, right?
Don't get close. There splatters all over you.
That messy, huh?
He's a machine when he eats.
1-1 pitch to Holiday. Hits it out of play.
Before the game, Mike Matheny was saying not only does he think Beltran is onto something now, but also this guy, Matt Holliday, who's been hitting a bit better in spite of some of the health issues he's been facing, and he feels like Holliday is close to breaking out in a big way. But the way the Cardinal pitching staff has gone, you get the offense cranking the way it has of late. Cardinals are in a pretty good spot heading into the postseason.
1-2 is hit out of play.
As good as the Cardinal pitching staff is, they still do need a lot of help from their offense. So if the Cardinals are going to go deep into postseason, they better have everything meshing, and they better tighten up the defense too.
Another 1-2 pitch to Holiday. Here it comes. Taken outside. Alan Craig on deck.
Well, with Beltran hitting, certainly the Cardinal lineup looks a lot different. And over that 16-game stretch where he's hitting .373, the Cardinals went 12-4. So there's probably some sort of correlation there. But obviously, the Cardinal lineup much better when you have Beltran hitting. They get this guy jump started.
Hit out of play again.
We'd have to believe someone would claim a distraction in the long leather strap there.
He's had that before, hasn't he, Al?
Yep, we saw it in Cincinnati. Remember, nobody made an issue of it, but
that's a base hit out to left. Holiday has had 2 very impressive at bats.
I mentioned a low ball hitter, and he got this one down and in. Set up inside, but I'm sure they wanted it up, and that down and in, he just drops that bad head, hits the ball with such authority, and the velocity of the ball coming off his bat just powers its way through the infield.
That's a look at the Hyundai replay. Runners at first and second for Craig. .49 pitches on the night, 15 to Matt Holliday alone. We saw last night Dusty Baker not sticking long with Bronson Arroyo around that 75 to 80 pitch mark. We expect the same tonight. Runners at first and second. And Craig looks at a ball.
Dusty has had that luxury, knowing that he's going to postseason, that he can just have these as tune-ups and maybe go with how pitcher's going, but after they get that 75, 80 pitches, get him out of there and get your bullpen all dialed in.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Craig. Slowly hit left side, force play at third, and out. Might have been the only out for Cozart to get. 6-5 on that play, and the nifty footwork of Scott Rowland.
And you got to go. It's a force play, but not hit particularly hard, so it might have been more difficult for him to go to first base. The play's right in front of him, goes the short route, and it's a force out. So you can see Rowland catching the ball. He's on the bag, then avoiding the cleats of John Jay sliding in.
Runners at first and second for Yadier Molina, lined out to right center, first time up. Tomorrow, our final telecast of the season on Fox Sports Midwest. All seriousness, Jim Hayes, great job all season long. Pre, post, down on the field, up here in the booth. And as good as you are in the air, better person. That pitch is swung on and missed by Molina. Yadi 0 for 1. We are in the bottom of the third with 2 runners on, 2 outs, and the Cardinals lone RBI off the bat of Matt Holliday, and that was his 102nd RBI.
Scotty, career high in so many different offensive categories. He has just had a solid season.
Slowly hit to short. Cozart flip to Phillips. The threat is through. The Cardinals strand 2. Jim, we'll see you on the post game, hopefully with some champagne.
Get this, free generic oral antibiotics. These are the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. There are more than 30 of the most popular strengths and dosages of antibiotics available for free at Schnucks Pharmacy. All you need is a valid prescription from your doctor. No other pharmacy offers you this. That's the Schnucks difference. Reminded myself I have a prescription waiting at Schnucks to pick up.
Well, that's why we do the spots, Al.
That's right, just to remind me.
There you go. Hopefully our viewing audience as well.
I think that's
not just for you,
Al.
Al.
That little guy's first clinching game.
Could be. A strike to Jay Bruce. Born in the bottom of the first, and here we are in the third. It's jumped ahead to the fourth now. Top of the fourth, and St. Louis with a lead of a run. Oh, 2 pitch to Jay Bruce on the inside corner. Punch him out. That's 6 strikeouts. And speaking of clinching games, one of the best, Chris Carpenter, Jeff Suppan, surprisingly for many on that list. Then Gibson and Joaquin Andujar. Rolling. High fly ball. Deep left. Craig back. Holiday looks up. Gone. So Scott Rowland has tied this up with number 8 and RBI number 39. Still one of the quickest home run trots in baseball. So Scotty Rowland has tied it up with his 8th home run.
A little breaking ball right there, but it sat on the inner part of the plate, and Scott Rowland did a number on it. Ties this ball game. That is Scott's 8th home run, 39th RBI, and another injury-plagued season for Scott Rowland.
So here's Navarro with 1 out, nobody on, and a new game tied up at 1-1. Slowly hit to the right side. Two outs. Rebecca in Maryland Heights, Missouri. Who do you think are the MVPs for both the offense and pitching? Carsoup.com emailed the booth question.
I think she means the Cardinals.
I would assume. Well, what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what. it's hard to pick. You know, I mean, you think about the offense, and I'm sure you've got to put Yachty in there when you combine the defense, who's had a remarkable season, career highs in just about every important offensive category. Beltran's had so many milestones this year. Holiday, 5th time, went over 100 RBIs.
It's almost as if the season, if you break it down in sections.
Yeah.
Beltran, the first couple
half.
of months. Yeah. Craig down the stretch has been outstanding. Liner and caught by Cosma. Off the bat of Drew Stubbs. We'll talk about the pitching when we come back. Roland has tied it up. It's 1-1. Let's head over to our studio here at the ballpark. Pat Paris standing by with a Bommarito Sports Update. Hello, Pat. All right. Thank you, Pat. What a neat story that is to have the one at bat be recognized to come back. Here's David Freese. R.A. Dickey has a chance to win the Cy Young Award. A cutter that time by Matt Latos.
Gio Gonzalez of Washington going for his 22nd win. Cardinal MVP of the pitching staff? What would you guess?
I think it goes in sections again, but for the full consistent season, it'd be hard not to look at Jason Mott, 41 saves.
And also Kyle Loesch for the season
Sure.
he had, but the fact that Jason Mott be the first time in Cardinal history that one reliever has all the team saves.
That's amazing.
And became only the 6th Cardinal with 40 or more saves all time.
A check swing, but Freese strikes out. And that's the first strikeout for Matt Latos tonight. Freese is 1 for 2. It steps to Scelso with Cosma on deck.
First strikeout tonight, but that's 182nd of the season.
Then you think about Justin Verlander and all the strikeouts he has recorded this year. Well over 230. Breaking ball taken low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Knuckleballer has never won the Cy Young Award. Descalso strikes out as Latos is starting to settle in. If you'd like to be here in person, just head to StubHub, official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Terry Collins, the manager of the Mets, you think about multiple starts for R.A. Dickey being a knuckleballer down the stretch out, but he's not a prototypical knuckleballer in the sense he throws it a bit harder than most.
He's my Cy Young.
I'm with you. I know a lot are looking at Gio Gonzalez, but I'm going with R.A. Dickey as well.
You know, as I say, Dickey is second to Kershaw in earned run average. He's at 269. He's second in wins to Gonzalez. He leads in complete games with 5. Gonzalez not on the list. Dickey leads in innings pitched. He's tops in strikeouts right now in the National League, 1 more than Kershaw. Got 3 shutouts.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Right down the middle, 2-2. Cosma was intentionally passed his first time up. On deck, it's Chris Carpenter. Latos trying to strike out the side here in the home half of the 4th.
This inning is more indicative of
how
look
at this.
pitched,
Latos
but yeah,
is
hurt himself.
Shook up.
Landed funny and now kicking at his landing area.
Almost as if his knee locked up.
We look a little more concerned about him than the Reds bench.
I agree. Surprised no one has gone out to check on him. Catches the outside corner. Latos strikes out the side. It began with David Freese. He couldn't check his swing. Then Descalso swinging through that pitch. The strikeout of Cosma. Matchup, and that'll be Saturday on Fox Sports Midwest. Mizzou football this weekend, Saturday at 6, only on Fox Sports Midwest. Al Raboski, Jim Hayes, Dan McLaughlin with you, and the Cardinals are tied right now with Cincinnati as we head to the 5th. And Al, just watching Latos as he walked towards the dugout, he seemed to be fine, and I wonder if it's just something with his cleat catching maybe and how he finished that delivery. They didn't seem to be overly concerned with him. Nobody throwing in the bullpen right now as Latos pops it up. The catch made by Alan Craig. What away.
Also a good sign that he went and took his at bat.
So look at the wild card again. What's at stake here tonight? Very simply, if the Cardinals win, they are in postseason play. Zito and Capuano coming up later tonight at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, Dodgers won 5 in a row. And if the Cardinals win, can't be caught.
Cardinals have at least forced a potential game number 163. Dodgers would have to win tonight, tomorrow. Cardinals would have to lose tonight and tomorrow. Then there'd be a playoff between LA and St. Louis. The winner of that game then would have to fly across the country, play the next day in Atlanta. Phillips frozen with that breaking ball. Much sharper break by Carpenter on that curveball.
That's why you don't give up on that pitch. Didn't have good results with it in the first couple innings, but if you stick with it, eventually it becomes one of your better pitches.
Not very deep in center field for Phillips. A little surprising to see that. Phillips, as we've seen before, out pretty good pop with 18 home runs, and John Jay is actually inside the arch. Many times he's at the top portion of that cut in the grass.
And you can see where he's playing a little bit towards right field, big gap in left center.
Phillips also dealing with a leg issue recently down the stretch here.
And he's been removed from a couple games, last couple games, because of the leg. Left leg tightening up while running the bases. But just keep him off base.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Carpenter tonight with 6 strikeouts. He's allowed 1 walk. That was to Joey Votto back in the first. 4 hits allowed. 1-2 pitch to Phillips. Ground ball. Cosma. Well, the Cardinals have been very hot over the last couple of weeks of this regular season. Their last 14, so the last 2 weeks, 11-3. And remember, this team could have folded when we were in Los Angeles in that all-important 4-game series. Mott had a blown save, but then he comes back the next week and saves 5 games. And Mike Matheny, give him credit, kept everything together.
That last loss in LA, that's what your 14 games was since then.
Cozart flies to Jay. 8 pitches in the inning. Carpenter due up when we come back. A Big Mac at regular price and get one for just 25 cents. That's 25-cent Big Macs on Friday. And the folks at McDonald's. Mentioned it last night, just a different feel here at the ballpark. These fans know what's at stake. And also adding to that, the fact that Chris Carpenter making his home debut on October 2nd. With so much on the line.
You would think they'd be ready to erupt, but at this point they're a little cautious, aren't they?
Yes, they are. 1-0 pitch to Carpenter. Grounded out to Roland first time up. Roland's had Carpenter's number. The fact that he made a good play on him and also took him deep for a home run.
Last time we got a better look at the type of pitcher that Latos can be.
Popped up to the right side. Votto is over near the tarp. And it's about 4 rows deep or so. 1-2 the count. It's Carpenter here and then Jay and Beltran. The Cardinals have not made the announcement as to the starter tomorrow night officially. We do know that Homer Bailey will get the start for the Reds coming off his no-hitter against Pittsburgh.
It is Wainwright's turn, and that's 4 strikeouts in a row for Latos, but
What's on Tap is brought to you by Budweiser. Homer Bailey and Wainwright scheduled. And again, we'll come your way at 6:30 tomorrow, our final telecast of the season. Then hopefully we give way to Darren Pang and Bernie Federico and John Kelly at some point with NHL hockey. A strike to Jay. True St. Louis fan there. The Blues cap and the Molina shirt and jersey. Here's a 1-1 pitch. So many people affected by work stoppages, and not just those that put on that sweater or owners. So many people around downtown St. Louis, folks that we work with nightly. A fly ball into center. Get it resolved, get it fixed. John Guerra is here. Andrew Humes as well. Those two are enjoying Cardinals baseball tonight. Happy birthday to Ray Quinlan from the Hill here in St. Louis. Ray celebrating his 99th birthday this month. Also, the cat wanted me to make sure and say hello to big Cardinal fan Cassidy. So there you go.
That's Butch.
I don't think so. In the air to right center. And the catch is made. Cardinals go in order. We're tied up at 1. Season on Fox and TBS. You never get sick of seeing this. Excitement begins October 5th. The wild card on TBS. That was the triple, but David Freese wasn't done there as Lance Berkman, as the Cardinals down to their final strike in Game 6, would deliver. It sets up David Freese and his heroics. During that promo that we've been running the last few days, we've been trying to give you some of the different sights and sounds of last year's postseason. It's pulled down the right field line and foul. Last night it was Albert Pujols. Before that we had the Division Series games with Chris Carpenter and his matchup with Roy Halladay, and the important hit by Schumacher in that game. So many things, Al, have to happen, and heroes so many times do emerge that you least expect.
Like the rally squirrel.
There you go.
And
I was thinking more in uniform, but yes, the rally squirrel, definitely.
Well, we have to thank Tom and Sherry Jackson, O'Fallon, Illinois, that brought us rally squirrel cookies to get us over the hump.
2 balls and 1 strike on Votto. The images of last year's postseason. That is one of the best. How did he avoid the cleats and being stepped on? And it's a leadoff walk here in the top of the 6th to Votto. 73 pitches thus far for Carpenter.
Not easy when you walk the leadoff man, but I'm not that concerned because Joey Votto had the respect for Votto. But if you're going to walk him, pitch around him, you better get the next guy out, and that's Ludwig. Hopefully you can get 2 with a ground ball double play.
It's the 3rd time that Votto has been aboard. Ludwig is 0 for 2. Hits it down the left field line and foul. 3 times up, and he has seen a total of 3 pitches, and Carpenter may have gotten away with that pitch there.
Well, Carpenter, likes to get ahead. First pitch strikes, likes to get ahead. So a guy like Ludwig, who played behind Chris, kind of knows that pattern, and he's ready for that first one.
Here's the 0-1 pitch.
Ludwig has been nursing a left groin strain.
All the way back on September 19th. That's when he first injured that groin.
I missed 8 games back then. Said it was fine today, but still very tentative.
That's it out of play for strike 2. 1-2.
And when Ludwig goes to the plate, he doesn't get cheated. Swings hard, and like his new hairdo.
Interesting.
Growing it out. And you see the whiskers on his chin, and then you see how much darker the hair is. I said, "What are you using some of that little Grecian formula?" And he goes, "Everybody says that, but no."
Fly ball at a deep right center. Jay on the move, and he won't get to it. It's off the wall. Votto is going to be held up at 3rd.
Votto seeing John Jay make so many miraculous catches and ball down, but right in the middle of the plate. He wasn't sure, and with nobody out, you don't want to run into a double play. So there you see the hesitation again once he started taking off, and with nobody out, you've got 2 runners in scoring position, and now Chris Carpenter's going to have to pitch. Activity in the Cardinal bullpen. Rosenthal. How about that?
says a lot about what they think of him. And here you have the season on the line and a tight ball game and a chance to clinch tonight. First guy up is Trevor Rosenthal.
Of course, if you kind of watch Mike Matheny of late, you know who he's going to pitch 7th, 8th, and 9th. But starting to use Rosenthal as the 6th inning man. With the Cardinal, how effective the starters have been and how deep they go into games, that 6th inning man isn't used too often.
Base hit into center field. 1 run will score. They'll hold up Ludwig, and the Reds have their first lead. It's 2-1.
And I was flying back from Europe when Chris made his first start, but on the second one I noticed that he got away with several pitches that were in the middle of the strike zone, not where he wanted it against Houston, but you're probably not going to get away with them against Cincinnati. Catching a little bit too much of the plate right now, just 80 pitches. Only Chris's 3rd start, and with no minor league rehabs. Minor league season was over when he started pitching. You know, he's really just going through almost pre-spring training.
Think about if you're Dusty Baker here, you're getting that time where Latos, you might think about pulling him, or do you want to put the pressure on St. Louis? You keep Latos in, who's getting better, it seems like, as this game has progressed.
I don't think there's any doubt if he gets to Lato's spot in the order here.
Sure, he pinch hits, but
you're
thinking
well
about,
taken.
You know, just how well he's starting to pitch, and does Dusty say, well, you know what? I've got one for you here with this ball game still on the line.
I don't think he's ever shy about going to his bullpen.
It's taken just a bit high by Scott Rowland, who is homered tonight. Rowland with that home run, number 8, his 39th RBI. Good portion of the season he spent on the DL. Hit out of play.
Carpenter made 2 starts on the recent road trip, and those were the only 2 losses by the Cardinals. So unusual to identify him with losses. 14-4 lifetime against Cincinnati.
Strikeout of Rowland.
Number 7, and this was the best time for a strikeout. Down and in right there. Scott thought it was a little bit inside.
Big strikeout. Now a double play, and you're out of the inning.
These pitches by start, so probably will add to his pitch total in the second start.
Navarro is grounded into 1 double play. Won't matter. Base hit into right. 3-1 Cincinnati. His second base hit. And the hitter will be Drew Stubbs. RBI number 12 for Diner Navarro.
And their first pitch, and here you see a hump in the breaking ball and the curve ball, and pulls it to the hole on the right side. Bruce does not go to third, respecting the arm of Beltran.
Here's Stubbs. 3-1 Cincinnati.
Sam LeClaire is up in the Reds bullpen in case they get to Latos.
Todd Frazier is on deck. Pitcher spot after Stubbs. quite the season for Frazier.
Your pick for the Rookie of the Year.
After watching Harper, I like to revise. How about for you?
I think if you go by the pure numbers, one of the things you got to look at is Rosario's catcher for Colorado, but Frazier did do an outstanding job when Roland was out, and then with Votto being out.
Popped up to the right side. It's playable, and making the catch, Alan Craig.
Do you like the style of play from Bryce Harper?
See, that's why they play a full 162, so we can wait till the final game, Al, to figure it all out. So Todd Frazier will be the hitter.
And then I vote for Miley. Just
Wade Miley.
What's he got? 16 wins, something like that.
All-star this year for Arizona. Sam LeCure is the right-hander getting loose, and here is Frazier with runners at first and second. The Cardinals, by the way, will have Holiday, Craig, and Molina due up. That's been the pitch that's been inconsistent now in the 3 starts, that breaking ball.
Curveball is AC most home runs in the National League by rookies.
It's sharply to third, and Freeze goes to second. The Reds pick up 2. It's 3-1 Cincinnati. Look to their brightest stars to make the next unforgettable play that will lead them to the NLCS and move them one step closer to the World Series. Legends are born in October, and our exclusive coverage of baseball's postseason begins Sunday, October 14th. It's Game 1 of the NLCS, only on Fox. Right-hander Sam LeCure is into the ball game for Cincinnati. It's our Chevy called to the pen. The Reds now on top for the first time tonight. They have a lead of 3-1.
LeCure set new career highs in appearances and wins. 48th appearance. He has a 3.3 record, 3.21 ERA, pitching much better of late. Allowed just 1 hit over his last 8 appearances, covering 9. You look at the comparison pitching staff here. The starters are pretty good. Actually, the Cardinals starters are a little bit better than the Reds, but a huge difference in the bullpens. Reds bullpen is just outstanding. They lead the major leagues with a 2.68 ERA, and the Cardinals, I believe, are 22nd, 29th, somewhere in that as the bullpen. But bullpen is much better right now for the Cardinals than it has been at any point this season.
Holiday on the first pitch hits it down the right field line and foul. So Latos, total of 78 pitches tonight, 54 were strikes. He goes 5 innings, gives up 1 run, 4 hits, a walk. He struck out 4. 11 first pitch strikes in his 5 innings of work.
Latos got his work in and has potential to be the winner of this game.
Strike 2 on Matt Holliday. Final that Baltimore has posted a win over Tampa Bay, 1-0 for the Orioles. And there's a look at those numbers yet again.
Cincinnati's relievers, the best in baseball. The Cardinals 22nd with their ERA just under 4. And you see the Cardinals starters just a little better than the Reds.
So Baltimore has posted a win. They're in the bottom of the 9th, and Boston leading New York 3-1. So could come down to the final game of the season to decide the American League East as Holiday strikes out. Krispy Kreme doesn't deal if the Cardinals get 9 hits tonight, and currently St. Louis at 4. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99. Stop by one of the 4 St. Louis area Krispy Kremes for this sensational deal. Greg with an 0 for 2 night, pair of groundouts. Outfield is deep and straight away. Washington leading the Phils. That's in the top of the 9th as they celebrated last night.
But Selig does it again. Mastermind of the second wild card. A lot of interest in a lot of cities because of that factor.
I think we're all thankful here in 2012, aren't we?
Great idea.
We love it.
Great idea.
We backed it. Day one.
And potentially it could be a lot of excitement for the second wild card. The Cardinals do not win tonight.
Comes down to 1 game tomorrow, maybe 2, to get into postseason. As Craig lines it
And the
foul.
Dodgers have an early game tomorrow. I guess it's 6:15 St. Louis time. Their game will start. Dodgers have won 5 in a row, and you always want to take care of your own business. Rosenthal continues to throw, so it gives you the impression that Carpenter's night is finished.
1-2 pitch. Dickey, by the way, with 222 strikeouts after his start tonight.
I think he had 222.
Did he come in with 222?
Yes, came in one more than Kershaw with 222.
Here's a 2-2 on a hop to Roland. So you go into tomorrow, Al, if you lose this game and the Dodgers win it, all hands on deck, so to speak. Nothing to hold back for. I also find it interesting the approach of the managers of the wild card play-in games, how they approach setting their roster for 1 game.
Well, there's no need to carry all your starters. You may have your starting pitcher of that night and carry 1 more that would be available as a long man in the bullpen. You can carry extra bench players and extra relievers, but you don't necessarily have to put all your starters on that rotation. It's only for one game. You reset the rosters if you survive to the next round.
Raul Ibanez, a 2-run homer for the Yankees to tie it up at 3.
Oh, boy.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Yachty. Shallow center, backing up Phillips, called off by Stubbs. We jump ahead to the 7th when we come back. The Reds on top, 3-1. For the official vehicles of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. Hard throwing right-hander Trevor Rosenthal enters the ball game. The Gateway Arch, and it's 3-1 in favor of Cincinnati.
Mid-America Chevy dealers called to the bullpen for the 19th time. Rosenthal has appeared for St. Louis. Started at AA this year and then promoted to AAA. And combined, he was 8-6 with a 2.97 ERA in 20 starts. Had 104 strikeouts and 109 combined innings. Power arm. Cardinals have more power arms in their system than I can remember at any point.
There's no doubt about it. Carlos Martinez on his way. Shelby Miller throws low to mid 90s. Rosenthal has hit triple digits. Joe Kelly hit 100 earlier this year. Fun to watch. We'll get the top of the lineup. So look at Kelly on the left, Rosenthal on the right.
And you know,
or rather, excuse me, Miller on the right.
Dan, a lot of people, and I included, were hoping that Cardinals could wrap it up today and then not pitch Wainwright tomorrow and maybe give Shelby Miller a start.
Pretty impressive right there what we just saw.
On his first 18 appearances, batters only hitting 182 against him. And right there he locks up Phillips. Made him look awful awkward on that strikeout pitch. This right there is a situation. You know, when you got a power arm, Molina wanted that ball down and away. It was down and in. You can get away with mistaken location because of velocity. Rosenthal went to spring training with the big club and really made a lasting impression.
On a hop to short, backhanded by Cosma. Cozart retired, and there's 2 away.
That impression not only was with Mike Matheny and his staff, but it was with the veteran pitchers. So like a Chris Carpenter that loves the kids. So he's just a sponge. He's always asking questions. He goes, I'm more than happy to help a young man like this. And Rosenthal will give a lot of credit to Carpenter in helping with some of his secondary pitches.
And Carpenter tonight, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. He walked 2. There's a fastball at 98. The pitch that Rosenthal was telling me about that Carpenter really helped him with is the pitch that was arguably his most effective earlier, and that was the cutter.
The cutter.
This is fun to watch here. This is the top of the lineup of a very good team, and Rosenthal has struck out Phillips. Coe's already got, now Votto is 0-2.
It's a former MVP right there. Carpenter walked twice, and then Joey had a double against him. And he's hitting down in the count 0-2.
Wasting no time at all is Trevor Rosenthal. Votto unique in the fact that he does not leave the batter's box between pitches. He stays right in there and says, let's go.
Got a little piece of that, Dan. It used to be, and
this is different now with a foul tip. He will do that, but with swings and misses or a ball, he stays right in there.
I was going to say, it used to be a rule in the National League that once a batter got to the batter's box, he had to stay in the batter's box unless he asked for permission to leave.
That is impressive.
100.
Time to stretch. Birds down 3-1. Just 50 cents all day tomorrow at your nearest On the Run at Mobile. This year, 6 is a serious number. Al Brabowski, Jim Hayes, Dan McLaughlin with you. Here is Freeze. They are just about underway, San Francisco and Los Angeles. So if the Cardinals do not come back, do they sit around tonight and watch?
And I just see on the scoreboard, St. Louis and Max Scherzer sprained his ankle on the on-field celebration. Celebrations are getting dangerous. Wasn't it Morales last year on the home run celebration
for the Angels? fly ball into right field. Jay Bruce is over and he makes the catch. Mr. and Mrs. Downey are here, and they want to say hi to Tom and Patty Downey, enjoying Cardinals baseball here at the ballpark. 1 out, nobody on, and here is Descalso.
Bill Kelly throwing in the Cardinal pin. Lefty Sean Marshall warming up behind LeCure, and he's retired all 4 batters he's faced.
1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. Cosma is on deck. That's Sean Marshall, the lefty that we have seen primarily with the Chicago Cubs in his first year with the Reds.
And Dan, think about that Reds bullpen, the best in baseball, and yet they lost Matson, lost a couple power arms in there, and had to change course on who the closer was going to be. I think it's worked out well for Dusty Baker.
Apparently someone stopped Scherzer in the celebration to see if he was all right, and according to a report, he was stepped on and twisted the ankle. Jim Leyland says it does not appear to be serious. He will not start the final game of the season. He was scheduled to do that. And he was one of the best pitchers down the stretch this season, not just for Detroit, but in all of baseball. Three and 2 are on Daniel Descalso. Trying to get anything going, and listen to this crowd.
Have taken the crowd out of it until right now. Crowd can be so electric and help out the home team. Just waiting to erupt with just something positive.
Tying run comes to the plate.
Cosma's come up with such big hits in September. When Rafael Furcal went out, he didn't know what was going to happen. When Cosma just took over that position once he got his chance. Talked to Furcal today, and I guess he had another MRI on his ailing elbow, and said just slight improvement.
Schumacher on deck. Here is Pete Cosma.
McGuire about Cosmo. I said, "You see any difference?" He goes, "To be honest with you, I never really got a chance to see him." And the one thing he said is Cosmo keeps it very, very simple.
One ball, one strike. This crowd trying to get anything going offensively. It's kind of jumping here.
Absolutely.
It's been a very quiet night. Cardinals with just 4 base hits.
McGuire would tell me that he uses video very little. When Cosmo said scouting report, he goes over, but it really doesn't mean much. You haven't seen these guys, so he just keeps things very, very simple, and he's had good results.
One ball and 2 strikes. Mark Teixeira pops out with the bases loaded in the 9th, tied at 3. And he has left 9 men on base. Keep an eye on that game as they head to extra innings. 1-2 the count here on Pete Cosmo.
Yankees could wrap it up with a victory, right? And if they lose, they'll be tied going into the very last day with, who would have thought, Baltimore.
Not me. That was my last choice of any team to make it into postseason. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Cosmo, base hit out to left. Schumacher looking back at the dugout. Will he hit here? And he will. And here comes the crowd again.
Keep it simple. Hanging breaking ball. With a nice little swing on it, pulls it through the hole in the left side.
So Dusty goes to his bullpen. Marshall coming in. The Cardinals have announced Schumacher. Will they pull him back? We'll find out. Grab some buds. And by Taco Bell. Taco Bell, Live Moss. You'd have to think, Al, this is the situation that Mike Matheny wanted. Announcing Skip Schumacher. Dusty then goes to his bullpen, brings in the lefty. They pull back Schumacher, and here's Shane Robinson, who is 2 for 3 against Sean Marshall.
I don't think Dusty really cares either way, and so it wasn't as if Mike Matheny got what he wanted, and Dusty Baker doesn't care who Marshall faces. He's had a remarkable season. He's finishing on a high note as he, in his last 14 appearances, only allowed 1 run and no runs in his last 12 appearances.
Some of the lesser known players as far as the big name status getting things done tonight. And obviously in this inning with Descalso, Cosma, it'd be nice to add to that list Shane Robinson.
He leads the team with his 48 pinch hit at bats and 11 pinch hits. And leads all major league rookies with 11 pinch hits. And this is a big portion of the game right here.
Inside for ball 1. Remember, Marshall began the season as the closer for the Reds. There's the numbers we spoke up to for 3.
Marshall, an outstanding setup man. Didn't handle the closing roles very well. Turning back to his familiar setup role. He's been outstanding.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Robinson, not a big guy by any means, but he'll turn on a ball. High ball hitter. Haven't seen a pitch up around the letters or eyes that he doesn't like.
Ball 2. Mentioned the Orioles win. It was a 1-0 win. They're now 29-9 in 1-run games. You have to go back to 1890 to find a better mark than that. The 2-1 pitch to Shane Robinson. 3-1 with John Jay on deck.
This is a key at bat right here. 1 out. Potential tying run on first base. Represents the go-ahead run in the batter's box. Marshall started out throwing those breaking pitches. As he had the confidence to throw one now, 3-1.
Three and two.
The breaking ball and a nasty one.
The count is full with runners at first and second. One of the biggest pitches of the ball game right here. Robinson with a fly ball down the right field line. Catch is made by Bruce. Runner from second will tag to third. Runners at the corners now for John Jay.
And back with another breaking ball. Had a little hump in it. Robinson flies out to right for the second out.
The importance of the game again. Cardinals win. They are in the postseason. They lose. They have to wait. They're in the top of the second. And there's no score from Chavez Ravine.
Boggs has joined Kelly in the Cardinal bullpen.
Jay, a broken bat. Slowly hit. Votto back to the bag. There is good news, though, as we head to the 8th. Buster Posey, a solo home run for San Francisco. Ball game. So good news out west. Will it stick? Right now the Cardinals need to pick up some runs and keep this a 2-run lead. Joe Kelly has been so valuable this year. Multiple roles, middle relief, long man, setup, starter, pinch runner. You name it, he's done it. Good athlete. He's had a solid rookie campaign.
You forgot Mohawk.
We heard the fans. A round of applause during the Jay at bat, not just for John Jay and cheering him on, but they had posted that score and loud ovation to that. Here's Ryan Ludwig, followed by Bruce and Roland. Here's another one of those hard throwing right-handers out of the pen for St. Louis. Rosenthal is impressive as we've seen all year. That's slicing down the right field line, but foul. And that's saying a lot because Trevor has been very, very impressive multiple times.
You're saying the Cardinals, for the first time in many years, that have a surplus of really hard throwers. Thinking about the Dodgers. Tomorrow they are scheduled to have the reigning Cy Young Award winner. Kershaw is scheduled to pitch for tomorrow.
There's a broken bat. One away. Subway surprise on the line, and a look at the American League West. Angels done. Oakland celebrated last night. Texas, they lead by a game over the surprising Oakland A's. They've had quite the run down the stretch in the second half, and scoreless just underway out in Oakland. Taken a little bit low by Jay Bruce. That pitch at 95. Bruce with a single and an RBI back in the 6th inning.
Angels, who were eliminated last night, are playing the Mariners, and maybe some news is the Mariners have stated that next season.
Off the glove of Kelly. Descalso to first for the out. 1-4-3.
That they're going to change the spacious ballpark and make it hitter friendly at Safeco Field. Bring in the fences.
Talk of doing that in San Diego. Follow up what Citi Field has had done this year in New York. Schnook's difference maker Scott Rowland, a solo home run back in the 4th. That tied the game up. Reds added 2 more in the 6th, and they lead it 3-1 here in the top of the 8th. Broxton getting loose in the pen. Up and in, 3-0. Big crowd tonight, 39,644. 39644 here at Busch Stadium. Three and one.
Loud before the game, especially their reception of Chris Carpenter, but this crowd pretty much been taken out of it by the Reds. And it started with Rowland's home run to tie it up at 1-1.
Ground ball right side and a base hit.
Fastball a little bit away and goes with the pitch. It's on the right side and through.
Here's Navarro, 2 for 3. RBI last time up, pair of singles. Cardinals care back at it again today. The Redbird Rookies program, which helps out over 5,000 kids, a chance to play baseball, but mentoring and youth services for the children in the summers. And they dedicated Lance Berkman Field today. Oh, and 2. It's the 19th youth ball field. The players have put a lot of money towards, and Cardinals, obviously through Cardinals Care, put a lot of money towards that. And all those fields are kept pristine. It's part of the deal. Here's the 0-2 pitch. 1-2.
And the Cardinals, with the help of the player who donates most of the money, will build that facility, but then it's up to the community to keep it up to, I can't say big league standards, but to be one of the nicest fields that these kids will ever get to play on.
1-2 pitch.
19 of them now, huh?
19 of them, and many of those fields that have been dedicated, the players themselves have come to the organization when signing a long-term extension, sizable contract, and they've said be happy to take out a portion of that, put it towards the field.
That was one of the things that Walt Jocketty instituted when he was here. Good to see that Mo is keeping up with that, and a big thank you to the player.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Navarro. I asked this earlier, do the Cardinals sit around and wait? I don't think you want back-to-back nights where your guys are waiting till 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the morning.
That's a good point, Dan.
If they don't come back.
Yeah, I think you know. It's all uncharted know, nobody knows what you ever had this second wild card scenario, but could go down the very last day.
Big gap in right center field. Scott rolling off with this pitch. 3-2 the count with 2 down. There he goes. We'll do it again.
Sam Freeman is warming up for the Cardinals, the young lefty. He's got to move Zipchinski right aside, hasn't he?
Liner into center. This will be caught. Jay is there. Good work by Kelly. Bottom of the 8th rolls in. Beltran, Holiday, Craig due up. In favor of Cincinnati, and the Cardinals have the heart of the lineup coming up. Chris Heisey enters the ball game, takes over in left field.
Broxton warming up, and you'd have to believe that Dusty Baker wants Beltran to turn around, hit from the right side, and then it'll go to his big right-hander Broxton.
So here is Beltran. Breaking ball and a strike. Carlos is 0 for 3. He's grounded out, pair of flyouts, and just 1 for 11 against Marshall.
He's due.
Not tonight. So Phillips is there. Oh, and he makes the catch. So Dusty goes back to his bullpen, and the hard throwing righty coming in. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Jonathan Broxton. And tonight he can help his former team, the Dodgers. Remember, he had some very good seasons with LA. He's also been with Kansas City. 6'4", 295 pounds. 2.53 ERA, only 3 walks to 19 strikeouts for Broxton.
He was acquired at the trade deadline from Kansas City. He had 23 saves with them. He's got 4 saves with the Reds. Only allowed 2 home runs all season.
He was a second-round pick back in 2002 out of Waynesboro, Georgia.
Somehow he looks a little smaller in the Reds uniform than he did in the Dodgers. If that can be said about a guy at 300 pounds.
Really?
Now the gray, the visiting gray, makes it smaller than the home white I was so accustomed to seeing him wearing from the Dodgers.
The Reds gave up 2 minor leaguers to get Broxton, who had signed a 1-year contract this season with Kansas City. And that's a base hit into right. So here we go again. The Cardinals with 1 out, a runner at first, the tying run at the plate in Alan Craig.
Well, set up away, hard thrower, and Holiday, instead of pulling it, goes with the pitch.
Alan Craig sitting on 22 home runs, and again the crowd becomes a factor. Molina on deck. Craig tonight. Pair of groundouts, also hit into a fielder's choice, and he's 0 for 3. Average at 308 this season.
Mentioned Broxton only given up 2 home runs, once one in the American League, 1 in the National League to Andrew McCutcheon.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Broxton has been successful against the Cardinals in the past, but I can remember a lot of times the Cardinals gave him a lot of trouble too.
Two and 1 the count. Craig lines into a double play. Out at second, out at first. Thank you very much. Hit it right on the button. 4-6-3. set. We shall see. It's 3-1. Ninth inning rolls in. Drew Stubbs leads it off. Stubbs and then Broxton's spot. And Phillips, the big lefty, Aroldis Chapman, firing away in the bullpen right now for Cincinnati. Second inning of work for Joe Kelly. Stubbs has struck out, lined out, and popped out.
Xavier Paul on deck, waiting for Broxton. Sam Freeman, young lefty, warming up in the pen.
Two balls and one strike. Think about last year in the Cardinals bullpen, how things changed. Brian Talent, Brian Augenstein, Brian Franklin. As Yachty throws that one out, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike. And the bullpen here in 2012, a lot of new names as well.
And we had some changes from earlier in the season. Casey Romero is gone. Of course, Kyle McClellan got injured. And you look at today, all the relievers you have down there. Sam Freeman made his major league debut. You saw Marte before, Shelby Millard. Sam Freeman has won the #1 left-hander spot out of the pen now. Clinching was awful good last year when he was acquired at the trade deadline. Pitched very well in postseason play, but
there's a broken bat. One away.
we know Stubbs can run quickly down the line, so Descalzo wanted to make sure he got that ball over to Craig very quickly.
A tough season for Zipchinski. Any way you want to look at it.
Yeah. Not for Chapman, though. Chapman has 37 saves and a 1.53 ERA.
A fly ball into right off the bat of Xavier Paul. And there's 2 outs. Cardinals will have Molina, Freeze, Descalso due up, looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth. They're going to get their money's worth with Brandon Phillips.
And actually is a left-handed compliment when you're a visiting player and you get booed. And I tell you what, Phillips in that good glove, multiple gold gloves, made a difference in this game. Not like just that last bullet off the bat of Craig, turning that into a double play. Like him or not, he's a good player.
Tonight he is 1 for 4. His hit was a single back in the 3rd. Twice he has struck out, also grounded out. Here's a 1-0 pitch.
Off speed by Kelly, trying to close out his second inning of work. Just allowed 1 hit, only blemish.
Fly ball lifted into right center. Jay wants it. He's got it. Chapman coming in. Final home for St. Louis. Molina, Freeze, and Descalso due up. Inning rolls in, and it's a Cincinnati lead of 3-1. Dodger fan checking score out in LA, keeping track here at the ballpark. Oldest Chapman. ERA much higher in the month of September, but the appearances were down. He was dealing with a little fatigue. They shut him down, but prior to that, Al, we're talking about one of the most dominant pitchers in the game today.
Well, think about it too, Dan. You know, went spring training competing for a spot in the rotation, and then Madsen and Massett both went on the disabled list. Later, their lefty Bill Bray went on the disabled list. Totally reworked it. And he's just had a phenomenal season, his first All-Star appearance. Crowd being entertained with video of some of the home video by fans. And now they're trying to do whatever they can to come alive and make sure they see another game here other than tomorrow night here in St. Louis. Yachty's had this kind of season, though, too.
For 3 tonight. Votto giving chase, and that will drop. 1 ball, 1 strike. Molina, Freeze, Descalso, by the way, combined 0 for 7. 3 due up against Chapman.
Cardinals really haven't had many walk-off victories. Will this be a night?
Strike 2.
101 with that fatigue in his shoulder.
Every pitcher across the country wishes they had that type of shoulder fatigue.
Night in my dreams, Dan. I have more velocity than that.
Votto over, playable, 1 away. opponents, hitting 143 against Chapman. It is 70 2/3 innings. Remarkable numbers. He's allowed a total of 12 earned runs all season. He has given up 4 home runs. 121 strikeouts to just 23 walks, and that's been a huge difference this year. He's cut down those walks.
We saw an outing last season that was almost painful to watch, where he couldn't throw strikes. Tony Cruz on deck.
The importance of the game, and San Francisco leading 2-1 in the bottom of the 3rd. The 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Freeze. Lines out to center. And it's up to Cruz. Matt Latos, our Budweiser player of the game, 5 innings, 4 hits, a run. It was earned. He walked 1 and struck out 4 in 78 pitches. Two outs, nobody on, and here's Tony Cruz. That pitch at 102. Hey, just think about that. You haven't swung a bat in a while. You've got to come in and face Chapman. Goodness.
The philosophy with a guy like Tony Cruz been sitting there for 3+ hours. He pumped nothing but fastballs. You don't do him a favor and speed up his bat by going off speed.
He's a Cuban defector. Signed a 6-year contract with the Cincinnati Reds. The debate for a while was to whether or not they would make him a starter. Should he be a closer? Because of the injuries, they have found out an awful lot about Chapman this year. He can flat out close.
My mind, just leave him where he's at.
Yeah. Cardinals down to their final strike, and then they have to stick around, wait, and hope.
It's interesting to me, Dan, is do you want him to wait another night?
Game over.
We'll find out.
Yep. So Chapman finished this ball game off at 3-1 the final. Scott Rowland tied it up with a solo home run, then 2 more runs in the 6th. And the Reds send this very excited crowd early on home disappointed. 3-1 our final tonight, Al.
All down to tomorrow night, but the Cardinals still are in the driver's seat. They still take care of their own business. And as the baseball fan, I want to see it go down to tomorrow night and let the Cardinals win it on their own.
Post-game show coming up next. 3-1 the final.